how do you value your stories, use cases, jobs to be done, product backlog items, things to do, whatever you call it. It'd be nice to put a value on them. It always strikes me as really unfair that we ask our developers, our coders, our testers, and all those good people to put an effort level on them, but we don't get the business people to say, how much money is this? And if you ask the business people how much money is it, they go, oh, it's too difficult to analyze, I can't find out, there's too many uncertainties. And they sound an awful lot like developers. But I think we can put an effort, a value estimate on them, because they're just estimates. So that's what we're going to try and do today. So just a reminder, because this is me, I have 2 golden rules for the things we call stories or user stories. Golden rule number 1 is that it should be small, and I would like that to be within 2 weeks. Some people think I'm generous and think 2 days is a long time. Rule number 2 is that it's valuable. It means something to the business. Because if it doesn't mean something to the business, why should they be involved? Why are they interested? So I want it small, I want it valuable. So how do you value a story? I have 2 entrepreneurs down here who are going to pitch their product to you. Now, I need some dragons. I need some investors. I have 2. Is that number 3 there, sitting in the hot seat? They made the mistake of sitting in the wrong place. Some of you have the option. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seats. Thank you, thank you. I must appeal for some diversity here. I can't have just men volunteering. You're really unlucky. You're sitting in the front row. If a lady behind you doesn't volunteer very soon, one of you 3 is going to be chosen.
Don't sacrifice me.
Would somebody like to volunteer the person on their right? I love the way they actually pointed at each other. I said right, and they pointed at each other. Please. Thank you very much. Okay. We have 5 men and 1 woman. Can I tick the diversity box? Will I get into trouble? I'm happy to do this with 6. But, okay. If anyone else feels the urge to volunteer, or you want to just rush forward, there'll be an empty seat here. Fish goal sign. So, from our entrepreneurs, please, would you like to pitch your killer idea? They'll pitch dragons. Be ready to ask some questions, find out about this. We'll get the pitch, and then we'll move into story valuation. Entrepreneurs.
Hello, dragons. Hello, audience. We are going to pitch our idea. So, hands up if you've got a pet. Okay, quite a few of you. Say yes if you love your pet. 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
Right, I love my pet too. I've got a little Labrador, and he is a bundle of joy. Absolutely beautiful, kind of loves walks, loves licking your face, and loves all the things that a Labrador should do. Has lots of friends. But over the years, what we found is that he started packing on the pounds. We all have jobs that take up lots of our time. When we come home, we forget to kind of pay as much attention to the dog as we should. Maybe we feed them scraps off our plate, and because we think we love them, so we're like, yeah, you can have that little piece of bacon, because he's looking up at you kind of longingly. So you give it to him, but that's not really loving him, because over the few months, we found that he got fat, he got unhealthy, and the little dog that we all used to love became kind of sullen and not very enthused. Until we gave him Fit Pet. This is our product. Fit Pet is like Fitbit. You put it on your pet and it tracks all of its health statistics, and you can view it online. So you can see how much it's been walking, how much it's been sleeping, how much it's been doing whatever dogs end up doing. Has a bunch of other features, and ever since we gave him that, he became the happy-go-lucky dog that we all knew. And I'm going to hand over to Mandy, my associate, to tell you a bit more about the details of our product.
Hello.
Hello, and thank you for paying attention to the Fitpet. Our initial business model is to basically track your dog's fitness. So track how many steps it's doing, and really to assess whether, as a pet owner, you are actually a good pet owner, because we all want to be good, don't we? We want to be good pet owners. So the customers are given a basic online service with the tracking device. And with the tracking device, the basic service is that they get to see how many steps the pet is taking on a regular basis, and they can basically assess, according to their body mass index, whether it's correct or not. What we're looking for is funding to really grow the product to the next level. And the next level is to get our data across to the veterinary laboratory services, to the pet market, so that pet products and food can improve, so that actually when we do give our pets treats, they are healthy treats. So not just vegan treats, but obviously a whole range of treats. So we're appealing to the Dragons for funding for the next stages. So the tracking device is a lot more optimal, and it works with our Fitbits as well. So that's the appeal. And there is nothing out there like this at the moment. So, yeah. So
we'll go on to the money bit in a moment. But right now, Dragons, any questions for the entrepreneurs? Channel Peter Jones here.
I've got a bunch of guys in my office. If we develop that in 5 weeks, why should I give my money to you?
So would they have the time to develop it and add the GPS service to it? And they'd be able to get the data points? Okay, so why haven't they done it?
Because we didn't think about the idea, but now we do.
I'm quite interested in the product, but where would you put this Fitbit?
So the Fitbit is so the Fitpet is really cool, because where you've got your dog's collar, it's literally like a tiny little. It's almost like, you get those little bindies, when you wear Indian costumes. It's one of those. It's like a little sticker, and you can stick it onto the dog's collar.
How much does it cost at the moment?
So the initial tracker for it's almost like a freebie to just give you that kind of sample of how it works, is £1.
How are you going to get money back?
So this is it. So the money back is, Rob here has actually already kind of been doing a bit of research, haven't you, Rob, with some of the customers and segmentation. You're looking at that, aren't you?
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, we're looking at all of our customer base and seeing who is going to want these products. We definitely know that they want them. So this is why we're giving them a kind of £1 trial to test it out, see if they like it. And should they like it, we're going to put it into production and build it en masse, charging a proper price for it.
Or it could be pet insurance companies. You get pet insurance for your pets. It could be vets. They could charge you kind of a service fee to keep your pets healthy. There's all sorts of options here.
There is.
What income do you see coming from the pet owner versus your other income streams, such as the food manufacturers or the vets?
Yeah, proportion.
I think it's what you need funding to investigate, isn't it?
Yeah, we need to investigate, but there is definitely lots of different avenues. There's a potential to connect this thing up to Instagram. Your pet can have a social media page. They can follow other dogs. You can kind of track your dog's activity compared to another dog's activity, and then have like a dog off. My dog takes more steps than your dog. There's loads of potential, and there's loads of
and tracking dog walking services. If you use commercial dog walking service in London, they're really big. You can check up on your dog walker.
In the future, if this gets funding, we're going to have an app, and we all know that we can do anything with an app. There can be so many plugins, and the features are going to come from the customers.
So you've got an idea of what this thing is, okay, right? Now, I said we're going to value stories. This is all we have. Remember, every story should be small, and we want it to be valuable. And you know me, I'm Mr. Diseconomies of scale, so I don't want you deciding you'll have 10% of the company for £100,000. We're going to go story by story. If they develop this story, how much do you think it's worth in terms of your investment? How much would you be prepared to invest to see this story? Our starting point is a track pet health website. So this is just, they've got the thing on the collar, and this is the website that shows you the data. You can monitor the pet's vital signs, and you can record the pet's health over time. And this, for your starter for 10, is worth 10,000 Cornish dollars. Cornish dollars is a new currency that's coming in post-Brexit. We'll work out what it's worth when the time comes, but just now we know this is worth 10,000 Cornish dollars. So which one do you want to pitch next, entrepreneurs?
So
Next, we're going to be doing tracking pet health. So this next feature that you're going to rate would be an app version of the website. An app version of the website.
So any questions, Dragons?
When you say that version of the website, is that a native app? They're not listening.
Sorry, Darren.
Native, iOS, Android, BlackBerry, what platform?
Is it a native app or is it just a web on?
It's going to be a native app.
Okay, why have you chosen to go with that? Badass. Yeah.
Okay.
We might change our mind, so we might change our mind.
Your users, I'm pretty sure a lot of your users are going to be quite an older demographic. Are you sure, are you going to have accessibility in that app for them to be able to use it properly?
That we would definitely like to have. Yes, we didn't think that far, but
Well, when they have the money to hire a designer, the designer will bring this to their attention.
If you're doing a native app, are you doing it? Are you going to do all the platforms? Are you going to start with one? Or are you planning to do all of them?
Does Peter Jones ask these type of questions?
we probably will do the top 3 platforms, whatever they are.
Okay, so we need to put a value on this. Now, I know since last year, and when you all heard Woody, and you've all gone no estimates, you've got these piles of planning poker cards you've been wondering what to do with, and it's just a waste to throw planning poker cards away, and it's not environmentally sound to flush them down the toilet. So we're going to use our planning poker cards here. So the dragons here are going to look at their cards, choose a card, don't show me until I say, and when I say, they will pull out a card to show how many thousand Cornish dollars they will invest in this. So if they pull out a 3 card, that is 3,000 Cornish dollars, or a third of the value of the website. If they pull out a 13 card, 13,000 Cornish dollars, or a third more than the website. You with me, Dragons? Yeah, okay. So, and of course there's 0 and half in there, and I just hope they don't play the old catch-all infinity that's in here. Okay? Are you ready, Dragons? Do you have a number? 2, 4, 7. And I've made my life kind of hard here. So Dragons, on the count of 3, 3, 2, 1, show me. 13, so hold them there for a moment. We've got quite a variety. We've got a 1 and a 40. So what's the old 1?
I need convincing that this has value, so I'll put a little bit in.
Yeah.
To show me, and then I might invest more.
Yeah, and the 40 there?
I figured if they did the top 3 native platforms, I figured that's probably going to be at least 3 times what the website might be.
Okay.
Plus some contingency because there's going to be problems and APIs
Okay.
and stuff.
Okay, so show me your numbers again. I'll just average them. 13, that is 46, 87, 87, 88, 100, and call it 110 divided by 7. That's, somebody help me, 110 divided by 7. Sorry, 15. 50. I'll put 15 on it, okay? Do you want to pitch another one, entrepreneurs?
Yep. So the next feature is the remote photo button. So it triggers the camera from your app. So if you want to take a picture, so you know your dog's walking around, and then you just like it and you just take a snap.
You can see what your dog is seeing remotely.
How is it camera on the dog?
Yeah, it's the
On the
it's
collar.
that little digital thing that we
Yeah.
put in.
Is that going to be in the initial product, the little dog, or is this a new product with a
This is the add-on. This is the next. Yeah. So this is the next.
whole camera?
Yeah, so we have our MVP at the moment. And the MVP is literally just the thing that straps onto the collar. It tracks their steps, tracks the movement, their temperature, and then you can use the data from the device. You take data out of it via USB, and it goes into the computer. So it's very, very MVP at the moment. So this would just be an added feature.
Do you see a legality problem with the fact that your dog will now essentially be filming members of the public without their permission?
Good point.
Well, I could be filming other dogs' bottom. I'll pay a lot of money for that.
Good point. That'll take a lot of that might take a lot of work to be able to understand the constraints around the legality of it. So we need to consider that when we're developing this feature.
Any more questions, Dragon? Okay. Ready to go to a vote? Okay. Choose me a card. Is it closer to 10,000 on the website, 15,000 in the app, worth more, or perhaps it's lower down here? Choose me a card. Ready? 3, 2. Oh, hold on.
These are independent.
Yeah. There might be overlap. If there's overlap, they'll just do whatever is required for the one they decide to do.
We're using the 10,000 one as a baseline.
Yes. Yeah.
So
So, yeah.
we're using that as to rate whether it's
Yes, 10,000 the web app, and we now know that website we know is worth 10,000 Cornish dollars. The app would be worth 15,000 Cornish dollars. So if you think this one is worth more, you're going 20, 30. If you think it's worth less, obviously 5, 6. Okay, you ready? 3, 2, 1, show me. Oh, got some 0. Oh, 65 and 0. Okay, let's just average them. 40, 107, 170. No, not yeah. 100. I'm losing it. It's been a long conference. 107 divided by 7. That's 10. Okay. But you know, quite varied opinion there. Some people are going for 0. We have to dig into that. Do you want pictures another?
Next one is the next one is the hydration level of your pet. This feature is added to the app, and it allows you to track how hydrated your pet is. Science.
I think you have to sign it. You have to sign an NDA before they can tell you.
Does this new technology, is that your own idea, or is that?
It is, yeah.
And does that need any hardware changes, or will let you work with the original dog?
So
Does it need any extra hardware changes, or is it just the software feature?
this would be. We need to discover that.
Any other sensors on the device, such as ambient temperature or sunlight, or what the environmental conditions are?
Yeah, we do. We currently have a sensor that tracks how warm your pet is. We can see if they're chilly. It's a thermometer.
Or is it cost of production and research for this feature?
$1 million Cornish dollars.
My estimation.
Yeah.
Sorry, the cost of the feature.
Yeah.
did you say?
To
Okay.
produce that feature on
We think it's probably going to be about
Well, really, we're concerned with value, not cost here. We don't want to get into the cost equation. We want to, how much do you think it's worth? If we talk about cost, we're going to anchor you. You're going to turn around and you're going to give me a value number which is just above or just below cost. Let's think about what value this is in the market. Once upon a time, I had the business analyst from Burberry come on a training course with me. And when we started talking about the cost of stories, I said, do you sell your coats at cost? Or does the price of your coat in the shop with Burberry bear any relation to the cost of manufacturing? No. We're after value here, not cost.
I'll just explore the IPR thing a bit more.
Yeah.
So you've got a device that can tell how hydrated an animal is. Is this a unique thing? Do you have patents over this technology?
We do, yeah. This is a unique feature to our company, FitPet.
As a responsible pet owner, presumably as I purchased your app or account, what do you think the value is to me? Because I'm likely to be somebody that has a constant water source for my pet to hydrate.
Yeah, you may well, but perhaps you're out at work and the pet has kind of knocked its bowl over, water's all over the floor. You might, yeah. Yeah, your pet might be needing a drink. You might not know this. This app will tell you, no matter where you are. Or you might be out on a walk and the same thing happen.
So is the idea that this could set alarm conditions, for example? Well, I wouldn't need to set them. Surely the app and the experts that you've got to put that intelligence into the app, rather than telling me the hydration, it would tell me when my pet's at risk.
For sure. So that's actually another feature that we've got. It's not included in this. This is I guess, an initial feature.
So if we just pause there for a moment, you see what's happening here. We've got the idea, we've got the story, we've got the intention over here, and the questions are coming over from here. We're understanding the requirements, the specification, we're sounding out the parameters of what needs to be built, we're creating a shared understanding. So all that good stuff you want to do in finding your stories, understanding your stories, we're getting all of that out. These people here are licensed to poke holes in their idea. Yes? So you're getting a rich conversation, and you quite often find interesting bits of specification and requirements coming out here. Or maybe you're getting your acceptance criteria coming out here. You're going to say, can this work on other types of animals? Does it work in all temperature ranges? And you're getting some idea of how you're going to test this, what you're looking for, where the value is. So it's not just about valuation here. Yeah? So we had to vote on this one? Yeah.
So hydration level. It's a sensor that tracks your pet hydration.
Okay. So dragons, can I have a value, please? You ready? Ready, steady, show me. Oh, 100. Oh, 105. 113 divided by 7. I think we're about, we'll call it. We'll call this one 16. The other thing we sometimes see happening here is that the dragons will start suggesting features that the entrepreneurs haven't thought of. This is a potted one I'd created beforehand. I've given it to them to play with, and they're inventing around it. But quite often, if we do this with a company's actual product, we're coming up with ideas. We're coming up with things it could do, things which, when we talk about it, we hadn't thought about before, or these people hadn't had a voice in saying. So it's a good way of generating ideas here. Shall we quickly do one more, and then we'll kind of wrap up and talk about some of the other lessons here?
So the next feature is location tracker. So see your pet's location on a map in real time.
Very good if you're employing a commercial dog walking service. You can check up on your dog walker.
Do you see that as a sort of security feature? I mean, is there any way, for example, when pets get chipped, is there any way you could get government legislation to put your technology into the pet chip, for example, so it wouldn't be collar-based? Is there opportunities there?
Definitely there is an opportunity there, and we would like to research that, because then not only would it be something that you'd use for your dog, you can also use it for cats.
Given this is just a little sticky dot type thing,
Yeah, but we already kind of do that by virtue of having a mobile phone. We sort of do that.
Have you thought about security around this? Because you can know where that pet is. Anybody can potentially know where that pet is. So, as an example, right, you heard of pet nickname, haven't you? People store pets. So what have you thought about security around being able to get hold of data where a sausage dog happens and they go after a sausage dog?
Protect your sausage dog from the sausage dog hunters.
We think this would actually deter people from hunting your dogs because we'd have all the data. We'd have the data and we'd be able to say, Darren, get your paws off my dog.
And with the camera, the dog could take a photo of the dog napper.
And also, I'll train my dog to lick you to death.
Yeah. Should we do a vote on this one? A card? Give us that one. Okay, you ready, dragons? Show me. Ooh, I think we found the money. Okay, so 65, 6, 130, 170, 191, 199, 194. So call it 200 divided by 7. Call it 28,000 each. Don't ask about my maths. I'm the one who's standing here in front of you, making a fool of myself. We have a winner. So this is not uncommon. You go through these. Do you want to sit down, Barry? You go through these, and you quite often find these kind of clusters. And then you find one which suddenly gets the dragon's interest. We didn't get onto the social media ones. With this exercise, there's a bunch of cards in there about posting your dog photos to Instagram and real-time updates to Instagram. And they're quite often, they're the ones that get the dragon's interest. They're the ones where the money really is. And I did this a few years ago with a team in the US. And they, as part of an exercise, they'd already written a load of stories for an imaginary app, which was a food van locator. You know these food vans that go around, you get your lunch from them. And the team were convinced that the value is in the food van owners finding a good place to park up and sell lunch. And the dragons were lowballing them, low scores. And the entrepreneurs were really, really fed up because they thought this app was brilliant and they'd been working on it for a while. And I said, can you pitch something different? And they pitched one of what they called the Hungry Joe stories about the people who were looking for lunch, who wanted to know where was the best Mexican food in a 5-mile radius. And that was what the dragons liked. That was where the big money was. And when we pitched the Hungry Joe stories, they were up there, and the food truck owners were down here, which is a great way of illustrating that the people closest to the product aren't always the people who have the essential insights. You know, it may well be that you could go out and you could try to do some validation on that. Is it the food truck owners or Hungry Joes? Or just simply that the people who'd written the initial stories, there was another view there which they hadn't really thought of, they hadn't internalized. But you license some people to be confrontational, you license some people to poke holes in it, and you start to see this kind of thing. You know, we sometimes talk about the product owner being an entrepreneur. How many, are any of you product owners in the room? A few of you. How many of you could play Dragon's Den? How many of you could go in to your board, your investment committee, even just your peers, and pitch your product back to them? Yeah? If the product, you think you could? Excellent. If the product owner really is a product owner and really is an entrepreneur for a product, shouldn't your product owner be able to, no business plan, they just walk out of that lift in Dragon's Den and they just pitch, you know? Isn't that what you want from your product owner? Yeah, I'd love to see every product owner I work with do this, but I'm mean. Well, what are your observations? What are you seeing here? Dragons or anyone? Yeah. Shall we give the mic here? Where do we get the mic? honestly, no. Oh, yes, that'd be great if you could. Maybe nobody's watching the stream, or maybe there's a whole bunch of entrepreneurs in Singapore watching it. I don't know.
So on the first couple of rounds, I noticed that the conversations and the questions were all about how do we do it, all about the costs, all about the implementation.
Yes.
We started getting onto conversations which were more about value later. So,
Yes.
which I thought was much more valuable than the point of the exercise.
Yes, yeah, and that's actually a good thing to call out. And it really depends on the nature of the people playing it. We've got one product owner here. How would you are you developers? A couple of you're a BA? Yeah. So the majority of the people here are developers, and it's quite natural for them to think, as you say, how are we going to do this? But once you start to loosen them up, they start to get in. And have any of you watched Dragon's Den? Yes, a few nodding heads. You're like me. You occasionally switch the TV on and it's there. But somehow we've all kind of assimilated what it is and how you do it. And people start to get into the role. And it's really quite interesting how even the most, can I say, geeky developers, so am I being anti-diversity there? Yeah, even the most people that are head down in the code, you do a bit of this with them, and they start to loosen up, and they start to get business side, and they'll jump on the entrepreneurs who start talking tech. Any other observations?
I think it's quite a quick method of valuing something that's probably fairly accurate. I mean, if you actually did an exercise later on in the day and looked at, if you could pitch revenue against these things,
Oh, God, yeah.
that it was pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I'd love to do that as an exercise. I've not managed to do it yet. But take these, and we talk about revenue, and obviously those of you who work for charities and the government are immediately thinking, oh, we're not a real business. And this is one of the reasons for using a fantasy money. We're not actually talking about money. We're talking about what is valuable to your organization. So if you're a charity, if you're a homeless charity, and what is valuable to your charity is rough sleepers being in a hostel, I'm not saying it's 10,000 Canadian Cornish rough sleepers, but you're getting an idea of the values of the organization. We're trying to put a number on it. And I completely accept that some of this might be comparing apples with oranges. But at the end of the day, you all get paid in money. Most of you get paid in pounds. Some of you get paid in euros. Some of you get paid in hard currency. But, we boil so much of our life down to a number. And that's what we're doing here. So we can compare this to our results, whether that's revenue, changes in outcomes for educationalists, people got fresh drinking water in dry countries, whatever it is. We've got an idea of value. Yes, it's an estimate. But how do you do effort? How do you judge how much effort these things are? Yeah, you stick fingers in the air, you estimate. I know this is not a real number, but it's an estimate, and it's good enough to work with. And if it's good enough to estimate effort in hours, points, nebulous units of time, whatever it is you use, then isn't it okay to do it like this? And the beauty of this being a fantasy currency is nobody really goes and matches it up, because you can have the most beautiful, perfect business plan, and your BAs can bust a gut writing pounds, shillings, and pence on every story they could do. They can walk into a meeting and present it, and someone says, did you include the latest report from the Treasury? Have you seen how the pound's moved this morning? Did you remember to consider the South Sea bubble? You can do the most detailed analysis, and if somebody doesn't want it to be right, they'll put a hole in it. Yes? Some people have even issued some estimates over what will happen to the economy in November, and some people don't want to believe them. Yeah? You can do all the analysis you like, and people don't want to believe them, they won't believe them. But this is, rough and ready. It gives us, there's a straw man. It sounds to me like the first thing we should develop is up here, and we should come down here. But this is also something you could show to other stakeholders. And it's great if you can do this with like product owners, entrepreneurs, and other entrepreneurs, business people in your company. But even doing it within your team and getting that conversation, and you can show this to people outside your team, maybe more senior business people, say, look, This is where we think the value is. This is the order we intend to do it. And with this straw man, they can challenge you. The same as you build a prototype to put in front of people to see what they think is valuable. This is your prototype prioritization, and you can show it back to people. The other thing you can do, which is fantastic, do you know cost of delay? Yeah? Which is completely misnamed in my book. And when we say cost of delay, everyone thinks about the extra costs of being late. You know, the penalty fees, the temps you have to hire, the extra postage you have to pay. Really, cost of delay is about revenue foregone, being late into the market, producing your Christmas products and not having it in the market till January, releasing your new product months after the competition released theirs. Yeah? It's not so much the costs, extra cost, it's the value foregone. So we can start to say about these stories here, $28,000 for location tracker. If we deliver it earlier, suppose these are, we say next month, if we deliver location tracker earlier than next month, is it worth a lot more? Possibly not. If we deliver location tracker later, is it worth more or less? And we can start to think about how that will decline in value. And if we see that that is going to fall off quickly, we know that not only is this the most valuable, but we should do it soon before it loses value. On the other hand, you know, suppose hydration level really is proprietary technology, and we have good reason to believe no one else anywhere in the world has this technology, then, you know, delivering it later may have the same value. This may not decline in value. So even though it's the most valuable there, it's also worth 16,000 here. And if you've got something like, just pick a random one, this 15,000 one, suppose this value is going to fall off quickly. Although this is a lower value one, it may make sense to do this lower value one before the higher value one, because this is going to lose value rapidly if you're late, and this one won't. You can start to have those cost of delay conversations. Because to be honest, I mean, if you hang around many Agile conferences, you hear about cost of delay. You explain it to people back at base, and they kind of get it. But I don't think until you put a number on it and you start talking about how that number will change over time, people don't really internalize it and don't really think about it. Any other observations? Yeah.
Have you seen this work effectively comparing things like adding a new feature or doing some work on scalability?
That has come up in exercises. And so I don't think it's come up in real life yet, but it's come up in exercises. And this is one of those apples and oranges. How do you compare technical scalability versus money? However, when you're doing exercise, I like it because it forces you to think, what do we value more? And it forces the technologists to try and spin this as a business story, that if you don't do the scalability, all this other stuff is going to start maxing out. The returns are going to be less. Your costs are going to be high. And because we're putting a number, and again, because it's a fantasy currency, it's slightly easier, because you're putting a number on it, you start to be able to compare these things. You can start to have that conversation, because you can start to say, okay, so this business feature, we agree it's worth more than scalability now. How much more? Where do we put this? And in terms of how are these values going to change over time, the business one may not change much, but scalability is going to get more valuable as you get bigger without scaling in your costs. So no, I've not seen it in real life, but I've seen it in exercises, and it's a way of starting to compare. You were going to say?
My observation was you could use this for different customers, and so you could work out who your most important
Yeah.
customers or different types of job role. Also, you could use it in different locations and demographics. So you say, well, what value is this in Latin America?
Yeah.
What value is this in Asia? And then also you could focus your marketing material when you launched your product
Yes.
based on the value seen in those regions or to those customers. So you could use that value to basically highlight. So
That's not an angle I'd thought of, but I think that's a great one. We're getting towards time. Any other? Yeah, Joy.
What if you're completely wrong? I mean, this is all just guessing, right?
Yeah. There's one, even if all this is pointless, there's one nice feature I like out of this. The business people squirm. And you hear business people say, how am I supposed to know? And like they said to you, how am I supposed to know if I don't know the cost? How am I supposed to know if I don't know about the technology? How am I supposed to know how this is going to sell in North America? And all these questions, which are exactly the same questions developers pose when the business people say, how long is this going to take? You know, and the developers say, how do I know? It's innovation. And if nothing else, you know, the comment I've had on several occasions is a business person saying, I now understand how a developer feels. So this could all be wrong. We're not comparing it necessarily with Excel, but what's the alternative? Now, one alternative is to have one of your BAs, for example, go and do the legwork. How long is that going to take to do the legwork? To really do a good business analysis on all of these, to read all the Mintel reports, all the economist reports, to survey the competitive landscape and everything else. How long is that going to take? Cost of delay again. Doing the analysis will take time. This gives you a rough and ready way of getting started, and you can come back and carry on the analysis. Sorry?
I mean, would there be some value in say you choose the top one, $28,000, and then it goes live because it's short, you're all about short, you've got to do it quickly, so you should be able to get some feedback quickly.
Yes.
So you should be able to find out the difference between your estimate and your actual.
Yes.
Feed that back into your estimating process.
Yes. Yeah,
So you'd be able to say, okay, you could actually do, you could look at this, in the form of a retrospective, if you will, on a quarterly basis and say, over the past quarter, we ranked all of these,
Yes.
we delivered all these, this
Yeah.
revenue came in.
Yes.
Yeah, for instance.
I would love to see a burn-up chart of value. As you deliver stuff, how much value. And also what you're talking about there is you're encouraging people to create a rapid feedback loop. The other thing that's going on here is, suppose we look at this location track and we say, look, this is where the big money is. And we may know there's a rapid fall-off, we need to get into the market sooner. That's also going to seed a conversation about what is a smaller, quicker version of that we could get to market soon and capture some of that value. Remember, in its entirety, that might be $28,000. But you could have a lesser version, a lower fidelity version. I'm not going to use those 3 famous letters because they are so misused. But you could have a lesser version of that in the market sooner that maybe it doesn't capture all 28,000, but it would capture some value. It would start to prove your assumptions behind that. You start to get some feedback on that.
And it would also inform the subsequent estimating process.
Yes.
So the quality of that, might be guesses at the
Yeah.
moment, but
Yeah.
if you're doing that and reflecting on it regularly, then those guesses will become informed by
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I have this hypothesis. It's slightly off topic, but I have this hypothesis. You know, the way we traditionally do software development, we have a BA-type person write out what's needed, and we have a coder-type person code up, and we have a tester person make sure it's the right thing. I think the tester and the BA are swapping places. I think more and more we're getting into a world where we get a rough idea of what we want. We work with the tester to find out what the acceptance criteria are, and hopefully produce some automated tests. And we do that before the code is written. And the coder then codes the code, and they know that they are only done when they've passed all those tests. And if there's any doubt, they can go and talk to the tester, and they keep on. And then they're finished, and because the tests are automated, it just passes. And that, for me, is where the business analyst's work really starts today. Because in today's world, it's much faster, much more rapid to be able to produce something and get into the market. If any of you were here last year, I did my slide with the IBM mainframe from 1970 and the Raspberry Pi. You know, and the world's changed. Our technologies are so much faster. There's things we can do to rapidly put something into the market. We can compress the development cycle. What is more important is the valuation or the evaluation. Once you've delivered something, did it deliver the value you expected? Did it deliver the 28,000? Did it deliver more? In which case, how can we build on that? Did it deliver less? Did it deliver less because we didn't understand the problem? Did we solve the wrong problem? Or do we need to do more? So I think the business analyst is increasingly going to be working after development, and the tests are increasingly working before. To wrap up, I've put this photo up here. I hope some of you can see it. This is about 2 or 3 years ago. John Clapham, who's at the conference as well, and me, were working with a company in Leeds that does legal software. And they were building a system for a legal firm in London. And there were like, I don't know, 500 user stories that were supposed to be implemented. And there's a product manager and a BA on this team. And the product manager divided them. I had her print them all out. She hated me. I had them all printed out. And she divided them into 3 envelopes. Must have, 4 envelopes. Must have, could have, should. Must have, should have, could have, won't have. Don't you just hate Moscow rules? Yeah, they don't work in Ukraine. They don't work anywhere. Oh, God, last time I told that joke, I upset some Russian. Yeah, at least it's not my wife. So we took these envelopes down to the law firm in London, and the BA and the product owner pitched them. Not quite so Dragonstone. We're a law firm, so we toned it down a bit. And they pitched them to representatives from the law firm. And the law firm people, I gave them the planning poker cards. And we talked about business points to tone it down a bit. And the stories, we got a baseline again, and I had the people from the law firm vote on these. And we got a vote, and we did it planning poker style with 2 rounds. So 1 round, discuss the differences, re-vote. Then I always average. And I wrote the value on here. Well, one thing I did here, which I didn't do today, is where they had the same value, where 2 stories had the same value, I insisted the business people tell me whether it was worth slightly more or slightly less. I didn't allow duplicate values. I wanted a perfect ordering. It took us about 2 hours, and we just got through the must-have envelopes. But there's 3 stories down here you can see with 0 on them. There was a 4th story where the people from the law firm said, we don't want that, rip it up, get rid of it. And I remind you, that was the must-have envelope. The product owner and the BA were convinced that this batch of 50 stories, or whatever it was, were the must-haves. But when we played it back to the law firm, there's some they clearly attached no value to. The law firm removed more work from the backlog in 2 hours than the team had delivered in 2 months. Yeah, so we're validating it here. So this was immensely useful for this. We've got 1,000 stories here. We did have a couple that are up at 100,000. The most valuable story to this law firm, it was a must-have story, but nobody realized it was the most valuable, was to put their logo on checks. 3 years ago, law firms still used checks. Don't ask me why. They may still use them. But apparently, the recurring ask from the marketing department was to put the logo on checks that went out from the law firm. And simply doing that was the most valuable thing to the lawyers and their IT people. I did this exercise with the FitPet with a firm down Abingdon Way a couple of months ago. And on the last day, we're doing some big training sessions. On the last day, some of the people had to leave the training session to go to a meeting. Halfway through the meeting, they ran back in, and they grabbed the planning poker cards off me. And they just decided to do it in a meeting they were in. They were just voting on stuff there and then. We're just slightly over time. Any questions, feel free to grab me. I'm going to be around until 5 o'clock-ish. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed that.